When the world collapses, most men panic, a few scream, fewer run. But once in a lifetime, a different kind of man appears, a man who does not fight the fire, nor flee from it, nor curse the gods who lit it. He simply stands still. That is the moment fear becomes silent. That is the moment the warrior meets himself. This story is about such a man, a young swordsman named Riku, who believed discipline was the art of control and strength was the domination of fear. But when fate set fire to everything he knew, he encountered an older wanderer, a weathered monk warrior named Master Kaidan, who taught him that the highest form of mastery is not born from force, but from a terrifying level of presence and stillness so complete it exposes the ego, purifies the spirit, and reshapes the path beneath your feet. This is a parable of fire, silence, and awakening, of a student who loses everything and finds the one thing no flames can touch, of a warrior who learns that calm is not weakness. It is the ancient system through which a man transforms. Chapter 1. Ashes of the familiar night does not always arrive gently. Sometimes it falls like a blade. The sky above Riku's village had once been a soft lantern of stars, a quiet dome where elders whispered stories and children chased fireflies in the warm dusk. But tonight the heavens trembled, a single crack of distant thunder, then another as though something ancient had awakened beneath the earth. Riku felt the shift before he saw it, a pressure, a tightening of the air, the strange intuition a young warrior feels in his bones long before reason can explain it. He stepped outside, wooden sandals scraping against packed dirt, and looked toward the eastern ridge. For a heartbeat, everything was still, too still. Even the cicadas held their breath. Then the mountain horizon flared, a hungry bloom of orange light swelling like a monstrous sunrise at the wrong hour. The fire descended fast. Houses ignited like dry leaves. Screams cracked the night open. And the scent, that terrible scent, a mixture of pine, smoke, and burning memory, flooded Riku's lungs. He ran, not with purpose, not with discipline, only survival. His feet carried him between collapsing beams, scattering embers, falling rooftops. Every step was a betrayal of the calm he once trained for. Every breath a collapse of the composure he believed he possessed. He shouted names, neighbors, friends, his fathers, and received only the roar of flames in return. The ancient teachings he memorized. Fear is a shadow, presence is the blade that cuts it. Felt like mocking echoes now. When panic grips the mind, wisdom becomes distant, unreachable, like a stone buried beneath rushing water. A burning beam fell behind him, sending sparks across his back. He stumbled, he tasted blood, his vision blurred. This is the end, he thought, not the end of his life, nah, but the end of the man he believed he was. For in moments of chaos, a warrior discovers a hard truth. The image he holds of himself is merely the first sacrifice the world demands. Riku pushed forward until his legs gave out at the forest's edge. He collapsed among roots and fallen leaves, chest heaving, lungs scraping for breath. Behind him, the village, the cradle of his childhood, shrieked under the grip of fire until the flames devoured their own sound. Silence followed, a cold, merciless silence. He curled his fingers into the dirt, grounding himself through the tremble. But grounding couldn't save him from the crushing truth. Everything he loved had been reduced to ash, and inside something else burned, a fear deeper than the flames, a fear of having no path, no anchor, no warrior's center. He whispered into the darkness, Why couldn't I stay calm? Why did fear rule me? The forest offered no answer, but when Riku lifted his head, he saw a silhouette seated on a fallen log just a few paces ahead. An old man, still as a stone, unbothered by the red glow staining the horizon. He did not look at Riku. He looked at the flames as though watching an old memory reenact itself. Riku's voice cracked. "Why are you sitting there? Everything is burning." The man exhaled slowly, almost peacefully. "Because," he said, "fire reveals what panic hides." His voice was calm, too calm, calm enough to frighten Riku more than the flames did. And thus, the nameless elder, later known as Master Kaidan, entered Riku's life not as a savior, but as a mirror reflecting the fear Riku could no longer outrun. Chapter 2. The Monk Who Watched the Flames. Kaidan did not rise when Riku approached. He did not flinch at the echo of collapsing rooftops. He simply watched the distant fire like a man studying the tide, patient, unbroken, ancient. Riku steadied himself against a tree trunk, voice shaking. You're not afraid?" Kaidan tilted his head slightly, the faintest gesture of acknowledgement, though his gaze remained fixed on the burning village. "Fear is natural," he said, "but panic is learned, and anything learned can be unlearned." The words landed heavily in the boy's chest. Riku's breath quivered. "How can you sit there while everything I knew disappears?" Kaidan finally turned. His eyes were not cold, nor were they warm. They held a strange neutrality, the calm of a man who had walked through many fires and understood that the world burns in cycles. "I sit," Kaidan replied, "because running will not bring back what was lost." Riku opened his mouth, but no words came. The flame in the distance snarled, lighting the man's face in shifting gold. His features were weathered, marked by years of disciplined living. A sharpened jawline, cheeks hollowed by fasting, brows shaped by decades of contemplation. A warrior's scars crossed his forearms, yet he sat like a monk. "Who are you?" Riku whispered. "A traveler," Kaidan answered. "A student of the old ways and sometimes a teacher." Riku sank to the earth, exhaustion pulling him down. His heartbeat thumped in his ears like a distant drum. The old man continued, "I've seen villages burn. I've seen fear swallow the minds of strong men. Tonight, you saw what happens when discipline collapses." Riku swallowed hard. "I trained for years. I thought I had control." Kaidan nodded gently. "Control is a brittle thing. Presence is stronger." The word struck something inside Riku. Presence. He had heard monks speak of it. He had repeated the teachings, but tonight, the concept felt completely foreign. Kaidan extended a hand. "Stand." Riku hesitated, but took it. "We leave this place," Kaidan said. "Your ashes are behind you. Your path is ahead." They walked through a forest, quiet as a temple. Every crack of leaves beneath their feet echoed like a lesson. The night air was dense with pine and lingering smoke. Riku kept glancing back, but Kaidan never did. At last they reached a hidden trail, barely visible beneath moss and roots. Kaidan stopped. "Before we go further," he said, "you must understand something." Riku waited. "You believe your life ended tonight, but what truly ended was your illusion of control. That is good. There is no transformation without the burning of what no longer serves." Riku felt his jaw tighten. "I don't feel transformed." Kaidan almost smiled. "No one does in the beginning." They continued deeper until the trees opened to reveal a small mountain, shrine, stone lanterns, weathered statues, wooden beams softened by rain and time. This place, Kaidan said, is older than your village, older than most kingdoms. It houses an ancient system of discipline, one your ancestors honored before steel ever touched their hands. Riku stepped forward, captivated despite his despair. And what am I supposed to do here? Kaidan's answer was simple. Sit. Riku blinked. Sit. Yes, Kaidan said, sit with your breath. Sit with your fear. Sit with the parts of you you've never met. A warrior who cannot sit cannot stand. The lesson felt absurd, primitive, even insulting. But Kaidan's presence carried weight, like a mountain shaping a wind. Riku obeyed. He sat. And within minutes his mind erupted louder than the fire that destroyed his home. Chapter 3. Training in the Furnace of Silence. Silence is rarely silent. When a man first steps into it, it roars. Riku sat cross-legged on the polished wooden floor of the mountain shrine, breath trembling, thoughts swarming like hornets disturbed from their nest. Kaidan had placed a single candle before him, its flame thin, steady, untouched by the drafts whispering through the old structure. This flame, Kaidan had said, is your mind. Watch it, protect it. Do not let it flicker. But Riku's mind flickered constantly. Every inhale shook with memory. Every exhale cracked beneath the weight of loss. Each heartbeat replayed the fire, the screams, the guilt. Minutes stretched, then twisted, then collapsed into the timeless discomfort only deep introspection can summon. At last, Riku's leg cramped, his spine folded slightly. The impulse to stand, to flee, to do anything but be still surged through him like lightning. He groaned and fell back onto his palms. I can't, he gasped. This is pointless. I should be training, sword forms, footwork, anything real. Kaidan swept the floor with a straw broom, not even glancing at him. If your mind collapses after 10 minutes, Kaidan said, what use is your sword after 1 hour of battle? Riku frowned. Meditation isn't battle. Kaidan stopped, leaning on the broom. It is the only battle you face every day, whether you acknowledge it or not. The war against your own noise. The words struck deep, but Riku resisted. Warriors fought with steel, not silence. Yet Kaidan continued. Your village did not fall because your blade was weak. It fell because your mind was unprepared for chaos. Fear seized you, presence abandoned you, and panic, he tapped his chest, swallowed your center. Riku clenched his fists, anger flaring. Are you saying it's my fault? No, Kaidan answered calmly. I am saying this. If your spirit had been steadier, you would not feel so lost now. A bitter truth, but a truth nonetheless. Kaidan gestured to the cushion again. Sit. Riku hesitated, then sat. This time, Kaidan lowered himself beside him. Close your eyes. Let the breath fall into its natural rhythm. Do not chase it. Let it return to you like an old friend. Riku obeyed. At first, nothing changed. His mind remained loud. But Kaidan spoke softly. When fear rises, do not push it away. Observe it. Give it a name. Fear thrives in the dark. Bring it into the light. Riku inhaled shakily, and the image emerged. The burning rooftops, the collapsing beams, the helplessness that hollowed his chest. He whispered, I'm afraid because I could do nothing. Kaidan nodded. Good, the first truth revealed. Riku's breath deepened. A tear slid down, uninvited. Kaidan continued. The body remembers danger long after danger has passed. This is not weakness. It is chemistry, adrenaline, cortisol, the ancient machinery of survival. But mastery is learning when to turn that machinery off. Kaidan placed a hand on Riku's back. firm, grounding. You are not here to forget the fire. You are here to learn how not to become it. Time passed in a strange, suspended quiet. Riku did not reach calm, but he reached awareness. And awareness, Kaidan had said, is the first door. After the session, Riku staggered outside, legs shaking. The mountain air struck his lungs like cold steel, but also like truth. Kaidan joined him on the porch. You survived the flames, he said. Now you must learn to survive yourself. Riku lowered his head. How long will this take? Kaidan looked at the horizon. A lifetime. And also, just a moment, mastery arrives when it decides you're ready. Riku exhaled a mix of frustration and curiosity. Another day of silence awaited him. Another internal war. But something inside him, some small ember, had begun to glow. Chapter 4. The ego that burns, last a man can train his body. He can steady his breath. He can carve discipline into the marrow of his bones. But the ego, the quiet architect of fear, is the last fortress to fall. And Kaidan knew this, days blended into ritual. Riku woke before dawn, trained in slow, deliberate sword forms, then returned to the shrine for hours of silent sitting. Every practice stripped away another layer of distraction, another shell of panic. His breath grew steadier, his posture rooted, his presence sharpened, and yet something remained, a tightness, a hunger, a storm waiting behind his ribs. Kaidan saw it clearly. One evening, the old monk stopped Riku mid-training. Your blade is steady, he said. Your breath is disciplined, but your spirit trembles. Riku bristled. I'm doing everything you've asked. That is the problem, Kaidan replied. You are performing discipline, not living it. Riku frowned, unsure whether to feel insulted or confused. Kaidan continued, now there is a part of you still clinging to the boy who lost his village, clinging to the identity of the victim, the survivor, the avenger. Until that part dies, you will never master the fire inside you. Riku's jaw tightened. I'm not clinging to anything. Kaidan stepped closer, eyes narrowing with intensity. Then prove it. He clapped once, a sharp, sudden sound. From the shadows, 3 masked figures burst forward, leaping into the clearing where Riku stood. Riku instinctively reached for his wooden training sword, heart slamming into his throat. His breath shattered. His mind snapped into survival mode. The figures moved swiftly, encircling him. Panic surged like a forgotten reflex. A blazing echo of the night his village burned. Riku swung wildly, technique forgotten, breath ragged, movements chaotic. Each time he struck one attacker, another appeared behind him. His heart raced, his vision tunneled. He screamed, not from fear of the attackers, but from the memory they awakened. Then, just as suddenly as the ambush began, the masked figures retreated into stillness, kneeling at Kaidan's silent signal. Riku fell to his knees, gasping, sweat dripping like rain off his brow. Kaidan approached him slowly. That, he said, was your ego fighting, not you. Riku lifted his head, still panting. What do you mean? You fought ghosts, Kaidan replied, not enemies. The moment those men appeared, you didn't see them. You saw the fire. You saw your past. You saw the boy who was powerless. Riku's chest tightened. He wanted to argue. He wanted to defend himself, but he couldn't. Because Kaidan was right. The panic wasn't about danger. It was about identity. A wounded self screaming for revenge, for recognition, for closure. Kaidan knelt beside him. You cannot walk the warrior's path while dragging the corpse of your former self. Riku's hands shook. Then what am I supposed to do? Let him burn. Kaidan whispered. Let the boy die so the warrior can breathe. The words stung, sharp as steel, heavy as truth. Riku lowered his head, tears dripping onto the dirt. Kaidan did not comfort him. Wisdom requires space, not softness. Instead, he said, when you are ready, we will begin the ritual. A chill ran through Riku's spine, not of fear, but of inevitability. He sensed that the hardest lesson was coming, the one that would demand not strength, but surrender. Chapter 5, the scariest level of calm. There comes a moment in every warrior's life when the world tests not his strength, not his skill, but the architecture of his inner stillness. Kaidan called it the threshold, a narrow passage where fear cannot follow and ego cannot survive. Riku woke before sunrise, the mountains wrapped in silver mist. Today felt different. The air itself seemed to wait. Even the birds remained silent, as if nature held a collective breath. Kaidan stood at the entrance of the shrine, staff in hand, eyes steady. It is time, he said. Riku felt a tremor of nervous anticipation. For what? For the return, Kaidan answered. Riku froze. Return? To what? Kaidan's gaze sharpened. To the place where your spirit first fractured, the place you ran from, the place that still holds the pieces of the man you used to be. Riku's chest tightened. His village. No, he whispered. I'm not ready. Kaidan stepped closer. A warrior is never ready. He merely decides that fear no longer has permission to lead him. The old monk turned and began walking down the stone steps. Riku hesitated for a long, trembling breath before following. They moved through tall pines and winding paths, the world hushed around them. Riku noticed something strange. His steps were quieter, his breath more controlled, his awareness sharper. The training, the silence, the discipline, they had been working in ways he had not realized. But calm is a fragile companion, especially when walking toward one's own ashes. Hours passed before they reached the forest's edge, and there it was, Riku's village, or rather what remained of it. Charred foundations, collapsed walls, blackened earth cracked like old scars. The wind carried a faint smell of cold soot, a ghostly reminder of the inferno that had once consumed everything he loved. Riku's breath hitched, his knees weakened. Kaidan did not touch him or offer comfort. He simply said, "Stand where the fire stole your breath." Riku stepped forward slowly, boots crunching against the brittle remains. Each footprint released memories, voices, laughter, late-night lantern light, the scent of rice cooking in the evenings. As he walked, the old fear rose again, fast, relentless, like a hand closing around his throat. His heart pounded in his ears, his palms shook, his breath became shallow. Kaidan's voice cut through the storm. "Observe it." Riku clenched his teeth. "I can't." "Yes," Kaidan said calmly, "you can. You survived the external flames. Now survive the internal ones." Riku forced himself to inhale, long, deep, precise, the way Kaidan had taught him. Then exhale, slow, steady, unbroken. The panic did not vanish, but it changed, it softened, it loosened its grip. Kaidan nodded. "Good. Now let your mind settle beneath the fear. There, you will find the truth." Riku closed his eyes. Beneath the noise, beneath the trembling, beneath the swirling emotion, there was a small, quiet center, a space untouched by fire, untouched by loss, untouched by ego, a place of pure presence. When he opened his eyes, the ruins looked different, still tragic, still heavy, but no longer monstrous. Kaidan approached him. "This," he said softly, is the scariest level of calm, when everything around you is burned, yet inside nothing shakes. Riku felt a single tear fall, not of sorrow but of recognition. The fire had not taken everything. It had merely revealed who he could become, and for the first time since that night, he stood fully, completely still.